Rugby World Rankings, folks, after 3 weeks of the Autumn Nations series. We've got 24 teams on the board. The next World Cup features 24 teams, and someone last week when we looked at the World Rankings helpfully suggested, why don't you just chuck all 24 teams on there? These aren't necessarily the 24 teams that will make the Rugby World Cup, but there you go, 24 teams, including the Netherlands for the first time on the whiteboard. Brand new magnet. Welcome, the Netherlands. Your jersey hangs with pride on the wall of 2 Cents Rugby here. We'll go through the Rugby World Rankings, the changes that happened with the week that was. New Zealand are down, Ireland are up, and there's been a bunch of movement in that kind of 13th to 19th spots as well. And we'll talk about the permutations for the upcoming round of rugby. It's a great time for the World Rankings, whether you love them, hate them, or are indifferent to them, just because with both hemispheres in action, there's points exchange going on like mad, unlike Six Nations or Rugby Championship side when it's only the kind of one hemisphere. South Africa remain at number 1 with their victory over England. They did take points off England, 0.32 to be precise. So it's not like they are so far ahead of England when they're playing away from home that they can't take points, but they didn't take a heck of a lot. And Ireland, likewise, are up in the points, but they actually moved up a spot. There's no way for South Africa to move up, but Ireland have moved up from 3rd into 2nd. They have passed the All Blacks. The All Blacks, with that loss, dropped 1.13, and the Irish gained 0.2. So not a heck of a lot, but that is enough to see the sides exchange positions in the Rugby World Rankings. So it is a new top 3. It's South, North, South, followed by North with France still there, sticking in 4th. They've been 4th for bloody ages. They've gained 1.13 from the ABs. They are still kind of well over a point behind the ABs, but 4th spot is looking comfortably theirs because there's a gap between them and Argentina and a slight-ish gap between them and the ABs. Speaking of Argentina, who are playing France this weekend, that is 4th against 5th. They're on 85.40. They did drop slight pointage to the Irish, but not a heck of a lot, remembering the Irish were at home. And the Scots, they're in 6th. I always highlight 6th recently as an important spot because that is the final top seed at the next Rugby World Cup. We haven't had the draw yet, but when we do, about a year out from the next World Cup, 6th spot will be the vital one that teams around about that area want to grab. Scotland didn't get any points for their big win over the Portuguese because the gap between the sides is too vast. Remembering, if you're 10 points or more beyond your opponent, you cannot gain any points off them. Portugal are on 68. The Scottish were on 82. Remember, the home side gets scored at +3, so Scotland would have been on 85. They're never taking any points off the Portuguese. But it was a good chance for them to give their kind of B team, basically, for want of a better word, a good run out. England did lose some points over the Box, like I mentioned, but not enough to drop below the Wallabies. But she's close. Joe Schmidt's side are absolutely on the rise. They gained a whole point from the Welsh, 1.04. So there's bugger all gap between Australia and England at the moment. Like, if you'd said to me a month or so ago, Australia will be genuinely hunting down that 6th spot, that top seed spot, it wouldn't have looked very likely, would it? They would have come out of the back of that Rugby Championship finish with 1 win. They were comfortably behind a bunch of sides, but what a difference a couple of weeks can make. And Fiji didn't gain anything with their win over Spain. Italy gained very little with their home win over Georgia. And then there's Wales. Wales are in 11th. They didn't drop below Georgia because Georgia lost to Italy, but if Georgia had managed to sneak that one, Wales would be in 12th, below Georgia. So there's not much of a gap between Wales and Georgia, with South Africa coming to town this weekend. Good news for Wales is you can't drop any points to the Box because the gap between you is too big, even though Wales are at home. South Africa's on 92. Wales is on 74. So it's almost a 20 bloody point gap. So it's a mismatch according to the World Rankings. Other sides outside of those kind of tier 1 sides, Georgia, like I mentioned, is there in 12th. Japan's up into 14th. They took some points with their win over Uruguay. So it's good news for Eddie Jones. Samoa has not been playing in these Autumn Nations fixtures, saying that they, remember, didn't have the money to go on tour. So they are sitting, but they have dropped below Japan. More like that they were passed. They didn't drop any points themselves because they're not playing. USA, with their big win over Tonga, 36-17. They have gone up into 15th from 16th. Portugal's dropped just because the USA passed them. Spain is still there in 17th. Uruguay is up despite their defeat because Tonga dropped more points than them. So Tonga, at least in terms of my whiteboard, is in the bottom row. They're in 19th. Romania is in 20. Chile, Hong Kong, Canada, and the Netherlands rank out the kind of final down to 24 spots if you're looking at Rugby World Cup places. Although, as I said, it's not just the top 24 teams that get through to the World Cup. There's qualifying pathways, like Namibia will be at the next World Cup, but they're not in the top 24 teams in the world. The Netherlands, if you didn't know, got a pretty good win over a World Cup. So remember Chile, how good they were at the last World Cup? The Netherlands beat them. It was 20 points to 17. So the Netherlands are up into the top 24 sides in the world. So congratulations to the Netherlands. Yeah, well represented at the moment. Possible permutations for this kind of final week of big games. Remembering there's a final game between the Aussies and the Irish in the final week. Kind of Andy Farrell, Joe Schmidt rematch. But for the kind of last full-on weekend of games galore, you got France against Argentina. France can't pass New Zealand unless New Zealand lose to Italy. So that would be a massive upset, but in other words, France are likely to stay in fourth. Argentina, though, could pass France if they were to get a win. So, yeah, France would kind of drop pretty massive points being at home. Ireland against Fiji. Ireland can't take anything off Fiji with the gap between the sides and Ireland being at home, but they would certainly lose massively if there was to be a Fijian upset. Wales against South Africa, already mentioned. Wales can't take nothing. No, South Africa can't take nothing, but Wales would take a full 2 points if they were to get an upset win over the Box. New Zealand can take 0.27 if they are to get a 16-plus win over the Italians. Remember, there's two kinds of wins according to the World Rankings. There's a win by 1 to 15, then there's 16-plus. That's the only cutoff which decides if you take a little or a lot. The most the All Blacks can take is 0.27. It'll be 0.18 if it's a close win. Italy, though, could pass Fiji if they were to get a win, so they would jump up into that 9th spot. Scotland can't pass Argentina, but will take less than 1 point off Australia with a win, so there'll be kind of marginal gain for them, whereas Australia could pass England and Scotland and take that 6th spot if they were to get an away win at Murrayfield. So that would be the dream result for the Wallabies, guys. England won't take anything off Japan if they are to win, but they could drop as far as 8th if they were to lose. They are currently in 7th, so it wouldn't be a huge drop, but it would be a drop nonetheless. So there you go. New 1, 2, 3. South Africa, Ireland, New Zealand for the moment. Do you guys let us know your thoughts? How fair or not do you think these rankings are? If you're looking for some non-rugby stuff to do between now and the weekend, check out 2 Cents on Tour. That's my other channel down in the description. Often wearing rugby gear, walking around China, sometimes talking to Chinese people in Chinese. It's something totally different from rugby. There's no whiteboard glory, but there's a bit of rugby gear and walking around and talking and eating stuff. But yeah, check that out if you've got some time. Down in the description, something totally different. But yes, you guys take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.